Hey y'all, today we're going to be making turkey sausage from a fresh turkey that we butchered on our farm. So what we have to do first is take all the meat off the turkey. We butchered this turkey a few months ago and it's been in the freezer. So I have thawed it out and we are now ready to debone it and put all the meat in a bowl. Because of the sound issues that I had in one of the videos, I will be filming this at some different angles until I get a different setup for filming. I do have some other equipment, but it is at my office right now. So until I can get that here, we're gonna deal with this just for the next video or two. So let's get started. So this is one of the very first turkeys that we did. We had been doing chickens, but we had not been doing turkeys. And we found out that this did not fit in our plucker. So this one did not get really plucked good. And because it had some bruising on the leg where they had been fighting, we didn't worry about making it pretty because I knew I was gonna cut it up. So I'm just gonna skin it because we're gonna make a lean ground turkey sausage. Now, normally when I do a chicken, I would be using this knife, which is what I normally gut with. And this is how I sharpen it. However, my sharpening stones that are down in here have worn out, so I can't get this one sharp anymore. So I'm going to try to do this with a Pampered Chef knife, which has a pretty good blade on it. So we will see how this goes. Normally you want to make smooth, even, long strokes. You don't want to do a sawing motion, but I don't know how that's going to work well with this. And since we're going to put it in a meat grinder to make sausage, if it's not pretty cuts, I'm not going to worry too much about it. So let's get this chicken deboned and get the meat over here in a bowl. And I said chicken, but I meant turkey. I was like, big chicken, huh? And it still has like a little bit of ice right here clinging to the skin, but it feels pretty thawed right here. I think we're gonna be all right. So this is the first breast, and I am just going to peel this layer of skin off at the membrane, which takes any of those little pin feathers that were on there off. I have my trash can over here, and so now we have one big lean breast of meat with the breast rib meat tender underneath there. That's a big piece. So now we're going to do the other side. And you're just going to go on either side of this breastbone here. I did not write the weight of this turkey down, but if I remember, it was about 18 pounds. Hey, baby. Yes, honey. The easiest way to remove the breast is once you've removed it, sliding it down this rib right here. If you go underneath and follow this line that comes underneath the breast, it's like the ligament line, you get a smooth detach. All right. So again, we have a little bit of feathering. We're just going to pull that skin right off. And now we have breast number 2 with the rib meat tenderloin underneath there. So now we're going to go and remove the wings. And what I do is I just come under here. And what you're looking for is this knot right here. You want to go right in between that ball and joint. You don't ever want to saw through a bone. Let your knife do the work. So now I have wing 1 removed. We're going to do wing 2. If you meet too much resistance, you're hitting bone. So just reposition or take the wing and pop it till you find that joint. And then you put that knife right in between. All right, so now we're going to remove the legs. And this is the same thing. You're looking for the joint between the thigh and the carcass. So what I like to do is just push until you pop it, and then that little ball pops out, and then you can get a nice straight slice. Right between them, all the way through. See? So I'm not trying to cut through a bone. I'm just doing nice slices straight through the meat, and you get a nice clean edge right there. So then we're going to move this other one. Push till it pops out. And just let your knife run through in a straight line through that joint. And now I'm down to the skin. And sometimes that skin's a little tough. So now I have both legs removed. So now that all that's really left is there is meat on this backbone. If you really want to get into it. What I typically do with the carcass at this point is you need to remove the tail, because you do have this oil gland right here that you don't want contaminating your meat. So it's easy just to go ahead and remove the tail, and you just get it down between one of the vertebrae and remove the whole tail. And now the oil gland is removed and you don't have to worry about it. You can discard it. So you can actually take this at this point and put it in a crock pot with water and let it cook for like 30 to 40 hours. And you can can it that way and make some really excellent broth. So now we're going to remove the meat from the wings and the legs. There's a lot of meat on these legs. And it is dark meat, which will be good for the sausage. So I'm just going to remove the skin. And then I'm just going to come in here and pull this meat back from the bone. And really all that's holding it in there is like some ligament. Now I'm good at separating all the pieces, but I don't typically debone like this because we usually leave our bones on our chickens and cook them like that. But because I'm making sausage, I want the bones out. So I may not be doing this part very well. But yeah, so you would normally have a prettier thigh piece right there. Although that's not bad. It's just you would probably want to slide the bone out rather than cutting it off like that, so that then it's a whole piece. But for what I need it for, this is perfect. And so for the leg, I'm probably just going to do the same thing because it's going in the grinder. So I'm not really worried about having a boneless, perfect looking leg here. And I know there's actually some bones and ligaments in the leg that are small that I want to make sure I get. Like there's a ligament right there. And those are kind of tough. Look at that. See, there's one of those long, hard ligaments right there. I don't really want that in my sausage. Now that backside piece is pretty. I don't really want this bruised piece. And it's probably perfectly fine to eat. But I'm just going to take that out because I personally do not want it. So I'm going to leave, well, I might take this part. Just cut around that bruising. All right, and now this is also ready for the stock pot. All right, so there's one leg. So let's get to this other one. So I'm going to tell you a little story while I do this. We got into turkeys by accident. So we ordered one of the surprise boxes of chickens from Cackle Hatchery. So a little known thing that is my husband loves surprise boxes. Like when it comes to anything, if there is an option to get a surprise box, it doesn't matter how much he wants a specific thing. He will go for the surprise box every time because he likes the surprise value of it. And so when we brought my hens from the farm at the beginning of the pandemic, because my parents' farm is 45 minutes from here, and with the lockdowns, we weren't sure how much access we were going to have to getting up there. So we brought my 7 hens home. And my husband, who has never really had chickens, I've grown up with them, he says, don't we need a dozen chickens? And I said, why do we need a dozen chickens? He said, well, for a dozen eggs. And I said, yes, we do, because obviously I wanted more chickens. So we go to order more chickens, and we find this Cackle Hatchery surprise box. Now, granted, this thing is like a minimum of 18 birds. And so I told him, I was like, that's a lot of chickens, but you weren't guaranteed sex or breed or anything like that. So we knew we could end up with, you know, quite a few roosters. And he was like, that's okay. We'll eat the roosters. No big deal. So we ordered the surprise box, and we waited on this box, and we were so excited to get this box to see what we got. And I will say, it was an absolute blast. And I would actually do it again if we had the room for that many more chickens, because it was so much fun. Now, I have since then hatched some of my own, and that is equally as fun because you don't know what you're going to get if you do a barnyard mix, and which is what we did. So that was kind of about the same thing and in a smaller batch. But in this surprise box were 2 turkeys and 2 ducks. We had no idea that we could get ducks and turkeys. We thought it was all chickens, which going back and reading the fine print, it just said poultry. So I didn't even, think about it. And I had never been around baby turkeys. So I didn't actually know they were turkeys at first. And I was like, oh, they've got these little nubs on their noses, which, I figured out pretty quick they were turkeys. At least, one of them. But we thought they were both males. Anyway, these turkeys had the absolute best personalities. I'd never been around turkeys. And these things were so fun. I don't know how much meat will be on these. And the ducks actually ended up being my son's favorite. Now, I'm not a big fan of ducks. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that right now. But the turkeys were a joy. And one ended up being a male and one a female. Now, they were both meat birds. So we no longer have them. We did not eat them. But they did end up dying of old age. And, complications from being overweight and all that stuff. So we did try to keep them as pets. But I told my husband once they got big, I said, I really enjoy these. I would like to raise a couple turkeys. Get a couple heritage breed that we could keep as pets and breed them. Honey, get off of me while I've got a knife. Okay. And, have our own Thanksgiving and Christmas turkeys, because we don't make turkey that often. We do eat a lot of turkey sausage, though. So I'm thinking, we'll get a breeding pair and hatch out 3 or 4 a year and butcher those. So that's what we decided to do. Well, I went and bought some heritage breed turkeys, which out of 5, 6, 7, 8 heritage breed turkeys, we lost 2 as babies, and only one ended up being a female. The rest are males. So now we got to downsize all those males. But then I bought 3 meat turkeys because I knew it was going to be a while before we could breed the heritage ones. There's not a lot of meat on that. I think I'll just let that go. So I bought 3 meat turkeys. So there we are with 8 turkeys and then 3 meat turkeys. Well, then my friend from the ag department calls and says, hey, we have someone who had a huge hatch and they need to get rid of some meat turkeys. Can you take some? Because I know you raise meat chickens and have some turkeys. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll take some. I can take whatever he's got left over. I'm thinking this guy has, an extra 5 turkeys or something. Well, apparently he's a bigger producer. And she was like, well, he has 100. And I said, oh, no. We're not raising 100 turkeys. So I said, give me 10, maybe 20. So I go to pick them up. And I get home with my box of turkeys. And they look pretty rough. I mean, they had traveled from his place to her place and been sitting, in the garage in the box for, not terribly long. But they looked a little rough. It was in the summer. They were sweaty. And I looked up and I was like, are these going to be ready for Thanksgiving? And the first week of November, they were going to be 14 weeks, which is like the perfect time to start harvesting. So I was like, okay, we're good. Let me move this. Okay. So we get the box home and get them out into the chicken brooder. which I already had a batch of chickens out there, but I have 2 stalls. So the back stall is for the smallest birds, and then we move them into the front stall and they can get outside into their paddock. So most of the time we run one batch at a time. So once we open them into the front stall, then they can actually have both stalls plus the paddock. But when we overlap, we put the smallest in the back stall because it's obviously warmer in there and it's closed in, and move the older ones to the front stall. So we moved the chickens into the front stall and put the turkeys in the back stall. And I opened the box and there were 30 turkeys. So now I've got, what, 38, 39, 40, 41 turkeys. I went from not planning on having turkeys to a year and a half later having 41 turkeys. And we still had one of the original 2 at the time. So technically I had 42 turkeys. So anyway, we have processed we did give a few away. We found somebody, one of our friends who raises ducks and has gotten into butchering chickens. We gave them, I think it was 4. So that cut us down a little bit. And I think we lost 2, and then 2 of the heritage that we got. So we were down a little bit to like 38 turkeys, 39, whatever, 38. I don't do math. So except for chicken math. I'm really good at chicken math. So anyway, so we processed the majority of the meat turkeys before Thanksgiving, and then a few like the week after Thanksgiving, I think it was. So we have 3 left that we did not get to, and they're massive. They're massive. I take it back. We have 3 of the 30 left, but we still have the original 3 that we bought, which are all females. So they're up with our chickens, and the original 3, or the 3 of the 30 are all males. So they're still out at the barn. And the females, the very original female that we still had, she passed away. And we don't know exactly what happened. She didn't come up one night. They were free ranging. And I was like, I can't find Sassy. And the next morning, Stephen found a big pile of feathers over by the fence near the woods. So we don't know if she went over there and bedded down, or was laying an egg, or if she got attacked before night. We don't know. But she is gone. So we really need to process the 3 females because they're getting really heavy. So they're kind of miserable. When they get so big, they're kind of miserable. So that's 6 meat turkeys that we still need to process. And then we need to downsize the 5 of the males heritage to at least 2. And then we'll just have the 1 female and then 1 or 2 males until next spring. What's up, babe?
Sassy was great turkey.
Yes.
She was cute.
She was a great turkey. She was very sweet, which is why I fell in love with turkeys. And the meat turkeys, honestly, they are so sweet. They are much nicer than the heritage breed. But the heritage ones are fun to watch because they, have more mobility. So anyway, that's a nice little aside while I'm cutting up this turkey. So now that it's cut up, let's get to grinding it up so that we can make our turkey sausage. Okay, we are ready to roll. And I had to get my glasses out to read the instructions on how to attach the meat grinder to the KA mixer because I have never used it before. My husband bought it for me for Christmas, not in 2021, but in 2020. And this is the first time I have used it. So I'm actually a little nervous to use this. So y'all get to do this with me. Let's go. All right, here we go. Oh, there it goes. And it says you can do it twice, but for sausage, I think this is probably going to be okay. I may need to cut up some of this breast meat though. Alright, all the dark meat is done. So we're going to chop up these big breasts right here into strips. Because it looks like that's the easiest way. Because I definitely want a good mix of the white and dark meat so that my sausage patties do not get too dry from just this lighter meat. And I'm going to mix up one batch of the recipe I found first, and then I'm going to fry some really quick. And if it's good, we're going to mix up the rest of this turkey in that and freeze it. I will say, I kind of thought this would be harder. I've been dreading this a little bit. It's been on my list of things to do for a month now. And with the pantry challenge, I committed to it because I knew we needed breakfast meat and we don't raise pigs. So I didn't have any extra bacon. And that is like the only pork that we eat is bacon. We prefer turkey sausage. So I decided I wasn't going to stock up or do anything like that. And I don't need to be eating bacon anyway, because pork does not work well with my family because my mom has active rheumatoid arthritis, and then I had the markers for it. So I kind of stopped eating pork too, because when you eat pork with rheumatoid arthritis, it doesn't do as well because pork makes you retain water in your joints, and that's kind of where the rheumatoid arthritis settles, is in your joints. And then when I got COVID, it actually activated my rheumatoid arthritis. So I very rarely eat bacon. I love bacon, but I very rarely eat it. So I've pretty much switched to turkey anyway for everything, but once in a while, man. And lately, I haven't been able to eat meat at all because it tastes horrible. So there we are. But anyway, the rest of my family eats this. It does tend to spit, so using the longer pan is actually working much better. It was a happy accident because it was just the pan I had available, because I was using my other big bowl for this. Okay, we have all of the turkey ground up and in the big dish, so now we are going to whip up a turkey sausage recipe, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and then we're going to fry a little up, make sure it's great, and then we're going to make the rest of the turkey into ground sausage, either this recipe or a different one. And I am not sure how far this is going to go, so I'm actually a little surprised once that entire turkey was ground up how little ground meat there is. So let's see what happens. So this is a 13x9 casserole dish, and this is all the ground turkey. So it calls for 1.5 pounds of ground turkey, and we're going to do it in the KA mixer and let this do the work of stirring it up for us. So 1.5 pounds of ground turkey is roughly equivalent to 5 1/4 cups of meat. So I'm going to make sure I dig in here and get both the dark and the light. Yeah, that's really dense and heavy. Let's weigh this. Okay, so I actually weighed this and took the weight of the cup off. And it is about a ½ pound per cup. So we need 3 cups of ground turkey meat for this recipe. And then we are also doing a ½ teaspoon of pepper. Except that's a tablespoon. This is what happens when I cook without my glasses on. I don't know why I took them off. Let's do it this way. That's much better. And then we're going to do 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to use the Himalayan pink salt. And then we are doing 1 teaspoon of fennel seed crushed, which I do not have crushed fennel seed. I just had the regular. So I put it in my coffee grinder and ground it up. And 2 garlic cloves minced, which I have some of the garlic cloves that I did yesterday, and 1 teaspoon of garlic is usually about, and I'm going to throw this in my coffee grinder too, just because these are big. So I'm going to do 2 heaping teaspoons. I just want to coarse chop those. They're not doing too good in the coffee grinder, I guess because they're not dry. Okay. So they did not do that good. Note to self. Do not use coffee grinder with wet things. Does not work. Okay. Oh well. All right. And then we are going to do 2 tablespoons of dried sage, which I have rubbed sage. And then 3 tablespoons of dried parsley. And you can use fresh, but I have all the dried ingredients, so, and it's winter, so we're using dried. And then the last thing is a 1/4 cup grated Parmesan, which I did find another can hiding in the back of the pantry with some extra salad dressings I had bought. So we are good to go. So let's give it a mix. And I do have my pan heating on the stove so we can fry these up. I can actually smell the fennel. Certain scents I can get, and I'm getting my scent and my taste back a little bit. It's not strong and it's not correct. Like everything's not what it should be, but I'm starting to pick up on citrus scents, real strong scents like clove, and I can smell this fennel. I am not sure if this is the right scent because, well, and now I can't smell it when I sniff the seeds, but I could smell it when I opened up the coffee grinder. So, all right, so this looks really nice and mixed. So let's move over to the stove. All right, so this looks pretty hot. And I'm going to let this heat up just a little bit more. But if anybody has any tips on how to get this off, I had moved my canner. This is my cannon burner. And it gets so hot. Well, I had moved it over to this back one and it bent my burn. You can see it slopes down. It's actually like crushed and bent. And it scorched the paint. So as hard as I scrub, I cannot get that off. So if anybody has any tricks for that, I may just have to like repaint it. I'm not sure, but I've got to get a new burner and I'm going to go ahead and get new covers because these are kind of old and getting rusty and yucky. But yeah, if anybody has any tips on how to fix that, let me know. All right, so we're just going to patty this up. And I have like 2 tablespoons of olive oil in my pan. I think I need to chop my garlic in the food processor before I do another batch. Because I'm seeing some pretty big chunks here. Like that right there. And I'm actually going ahead and making a dinner's worth because this will be part of our dinner tonight. And I will make some pancakes to go with it. Yeah, put one more in there. There we go. All right, I'm going to cook these up. Okay, so we have all of the sausage processed. We ended up making the entire bird into sausage, and my kids love the sausage. Matt, what did you think about the sausage?
Follow this tutorial, you need some.
My husband said it was really good. I tasted it and I could taste like the fennel, but I didn't get the really strong sausage taste, but that's okay. It was something. So anyway, so I went ahead and made the rest of the bird into the sausage recipe, and it made about, I think it was 4 packages or 4 recipes full. So we are going to package that up and do the vacuum sealer. That way it's nice and tight and will last in the freezer. And I'm going to put it back in the freezer as sausage. So there you go. You can also go ahead and cook it and then put it in the freezer. And then all you have to do is like heat it up in the microwave or the toast or the oven. So, or toaster oven, whatever. But I'm going to just go ahead and put it in raw and then keep a package out for later this week. So here we go. So that's about 1 pound. we're just going to get these done up. Okay, so we have all of our sausage vacuum sealed into packages, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So all we have to do is, excuse me, I can't count. We have 5. So, and then we had these that we fried, which the kids have already gotten into, and they're trying to get more. So that was a total of 6 meals off of 1 turkey. So we went from 1 homegrown turkey to making sausage in 6 meals in a little less than 2.5 hours. So I would say that's pretty good. So I'm going to finish writing the date and what this is on the packages, and I'm going to get this into the freezer, not refrigerator. One of them will go in the refrigerator. And then I'm going to make some pancakes to go with this sausage, and we're going to have dinner. So thank you for coming along with my attempt at making turkey sausage. And I hope this has been a good day for you and a good video. Let me know if you end up making this recipe, and I will link it below. Again, have a great day, and we will see you soon back here on the channel. Hit that subscribe button for me.